I'm not having much luck with the central lubing on the machines. After getting a little bit of a hang of the forwarder, I found this big blob of grease under the central lubing unit on the harvester when I needed to fill it up, so we had to start looking at it on this one also and start figuring out where all the hoses goes to the different blocks, because it's a lot more central lubing on this machine than the other. So we decided to add a grease fitting so we could feed it with a grease gun. Couldn't really figure out the direction of the hoses where it was really going. It wasn't going where I first thought it would, so we removed the unit for a little bit better access. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but it's like the hoses swallowed a golf ball or something, so something is damaged here. Here you can see it. I thought that hose was going up to the block above the unit, but it was going forward, and here you can see the damage. We decided to just do a quick fix and put on a new connection. We just had that plastic hose to replace it with, but we thought we could get it to work. We put the unit back in place for now. I wanted to see if that safety valve that is supposed to be there would release, so we tried hooking that up and blocking it off with some hose and a bolt and a clamp. That didn't work. It didn't release, it just expelled the grease out through our plugs. Decided to try and test force feeding all the different blocks with a hand pump to see if there was anything blocking it that would have caused that hose to blow. There is a block, well, two blocks above the pump. There is one at the back of the crane, one here on the top of the crane, but everything, a few times the hand pumps was a little hard to push, but nothing extreme. We also opened up the block at the central of the machine down by the drive shaft and gave them some pumps, so to ensure we made the block work all the way, and they all seemed to function at least. Looked a little at the hose routing. Here we had tried force feeding the block with the grease feeding, you can see at the top, and this is the first block where the central lubing feeds, we figured out. And as we tried to feed it, we looked too much at that pin to go out, but turned out that the hose itself started ingesting a lot of the grease. So probably, well, pressure and all age has caused that core of that hose to start disintegrate, and the best solution would be to replace all of it, and that required going through the center of the machine and tilting the cab up to get some access and feed the new hose in place. We removed the metal at the end of the hose to have as small of a piece as possible to feed through. Had also found a damage on this grease connection, the small hole from where a hydraulic hose had been rubbing on it, so that was removed and replaced. At the top of an arm, one of the guides for the hose on the central lubing was damaged, so that was just cleaned the threads and put a new bolt in place. Here getting the new fitting to grab on was a little tricky. It's deep down there, but then it was just a matter of putting the the guides in place and tightening everything up. Found a short little luggage strap to help hold that hydraulic hose away from rubbing on the central lubing. As we took apart the swollen hose, it started expelling the grease from itself. With that all out, we didn't have enough hose. I hadn't bought enough to be able to cover smaller repairs, so we had to buy more before we could continue. Cut some zip tie and drill a little hole, put a little piece of metal string through it, and did the same at the other end to make as small of a joint as possible to make it easier to feed it the new hose in place by pulling on the old one. We still helped out to pull as gently on as it's possible, just feeding it down just under the cab at first and then all the way through the waist. There were a couple of zip ties in some places that needed to be cut to allow it to get all the way. Some of the zip ties were replaced. Then it was just a matter of bolting on the fitting, the proper fitting that could connect to the block. Had purchased plugs to be able to test that safety valve, and it required quite a lot of pressure on the grease gun before it started expelling the grease through the safety valve. But I think that's in order. The other end of the new hose was cut, the fitting connected, and then everything was bolted back up. Wanted to do a test run, so ignition on and did a forced cycle, and everything looks good. Could see the pins started to move in and out, so lowered the cab back down, hammered the pins in place. Once the pins were in place, the lock bolts could be tightened back up. Then it was just a matter of adding a few more zip ties to secure the different hoses where they were connected before we started, and putting the cover back on. So hopefully this will last for a long time now.